Yo, Hades here. Welcome back to another movie review. Now, obviously, this movie will be the Odyssey. Uh, okay, do that so I don't actually have to touch the controller. But yeah, Odyssey. So, actually, 2 seconds. I'm going to turn off the volume. Game. Okay, turn off that audio so that it's not as louder and just doesn't interrupt my thoughts. Also, yes, I'm switching the game just because Isaac, I do have to talk and play the game at the same time. At least with this, I can just, at the same time, just walk around my room while it auto drives until, it's not auto driving anymore. But, anyways, Odyssey, fantastic movie. You know, to no one's surprise, another Nolan masterclass. Um, and I will say, I do think there are some parts of Oppenheimer that I liked more than the Odyssey, but I will say that I liked the Odyssey more as a complete movie. Like Oppenheimer, I'd say had better standout acting performances. Not to say that the Odyssey, didn't or lacked or was lacking in any way, but I don't know. There's just, in my opinion, had more standout performances. I don't know. But no, it's still a peak movie. I got to see it in IMAX. They gave me a movie poster, uh, and it was just great. Anyways, now about the movie. Um, Try to stay away from spoilers for the most part, but technically the story has existed for 3,000 years, apparently. So, you know, uh, read the book or read the story. For some reason, I will say that was another thing. I actually have read the Odyssey beforehand, so that was like not anything. Is it still going? Okay, cool. It actually just auto drives through that. Cool. Um, yeah, just getting attacked. That'll be fine. I was worried about that, but anyways, yeah, the movie opening up with Travis Scott. I'm not gonna lie, giant flashbang. Almost completely forgot about that. So that was a huge flashbang, and then later on, Travis Scott obviously does appear again later, and at least in the third act, and that also almost took me out because it didn't ruin the immersion, but just like it's it was so strange just being reminded. Oh yeah, Travis Scott's in this movie. Um, but no, I mean he didn't really take away from anything. I thought it was cool that he was there and that Nolan as well. It's like rappers are basically just poets. And the stupidest person will be offended by that, but it is what it is. Um, I mean the story itself, it was very just it was just the Odyssey for the most part. They did change one or a couple things. They did change a couple things. Obviously, most notably, also I should preference or say this, but if you haven't, I would just say if you haven't read the story or seen the movie, you probably should just go away after. I already said how it is. The movie is 10 out of 10. Please go watch it. Love cinema. But anyways, moving on. Um, yeah, the Cyclops, because in the book it was when poking out the Cyclops' eye, there were actually multiple Cyclopses or I don't know, yeah, Cyclopses. Um, and when his friends ask, like, "Oh, who's attacking you?" He says nobody. But obviously, Dolan couldn't do that because he decided to uh, write the movie with modern dialogue, and that just that would not work in modern dialogue. Um, so that's kind of, and I understand that it wouldn't have worked. I will say, which I was fine with it. I will say the Cyclops was terrifying. That motherfucker walked into the cave. I'm like, oh, holy shit! Like, that's uh, that's bad. They're going to die. Uh, yeah, that was very scary, to say the least. Very just. Not even just like how imposing it was, just how, obviously just being a Cyclops, but just simply how it was designed, like clearly of how disfigured it was, um, and watching it eat Odysseus' men was, I think that would put fear to a decent amount of people. I think in fairness, but and trying to move on to segments. I will say Anne Hathaway, probably my favorite performance in the movie. She, she'll probably get an Oscar for that. I'll call it here. Um, she was just that good. Great. Sorry, let me. Not good. Great. Uh, Tom Holland, you'll see some people on the internet being like, "Oh, he wasn't that good," or "He was the weakest part." I don't think that at all. I do think he did. I think he did a good job, especially for his parts. He just wasn't really as emotional of a character as, say, Penelope or Odysseus or any of the men or even Cersei, something like that. Um, but I don't think that he did a bad job in the slightest. I do think that's probably one of his best performances. Unfortunately, it just that wasn't the role that was that he was surrounded the roles he was surrounded by. Just I think a higher caliber of actor was casted. Like I said, no, nothing against Tom Holland, but I just think that he was just getting outacted. You know, which you could put that up to his agents. You know, he, the agent has been putting him in some bullshit for the last few years. He finally learned how actual movies are made, uh, thanks to Mr. Nolan himself. So, you know, but yeah, Robert Pattinson, I don't know how he does it every time. That's it. I guess he just every single time he just proves um, he just proves he's one of the greatest actors of this generation, just easily. He played a fantastic villain, um, as well, just being showing off just that he has the ability to be uh, both a conniving and I'm not going to say intimidating because I don't think he was really intimidating villain, um, but also a coward. I think in stark comparison to him, how he plays Batman, um, definitely a complete 180 and shift. But and obviously Robert Pattinson's just just in between Batman movies. I don't know how many movies he's done at this point, but you know he's just still going. He he's just still producing hits. Every performance he does now is his best performance ever. Just movie after movie. They're like, yeah, he does it again, and he does do it again for this movie. His character. It really showed, like I said, the cowardly villain and how he thought he was the king of the world, and then second real one shows up, immediately go like you could see the fear, and that's what I love about Robert Pattinson is his eyes. You can like his the way he's able to show emotion using his eyes, um, which anybody that says that they want to cover his eyes for Batman, you're not you don't know ball. Um, like because he's able to convey whatever emotion perfectly, and it's so great watching it. And just we're just going to random points in the movie at this point, because just got to keep my train of thought. Cersei, the the witch, apparently that scene was done practically, um, which is horrifying. And at the same time, Nolan, please listen to me when I say this. I need that horror movie from you. Uh, I think it would be generational to say the least. Uh, you know, so I need that. Sec. Okay. Um, yeah, that would be. a generational horror movie. So I need him to lock in and do that next for his next movie, horror movie. And he said he's been wanting to do it. Um, and I think he's shown that he has definitely the um, ability to at least actually, direct a terrifying scene. With, like I said, the Cyclops and both Cersei transforming Odysseus' men into pigs. That was I that was disturbing as all shit. Seeing their bodies uh, get contorted and twisted and then shaped like that, just that chills. Um, Agamemnon, Non. Yeah, I don't know why I keep trying to add Don. Agamemnon. Um, Definitely. It's a very interesting character. I will say, probably one of the most aura-filled characters of all time. Um, just ever. Literally, you're just watching the movie. He has no lines. Um, he has no lines at all. At least while he's alive. Um, and I think that adds to the character. I think it adds a lot to the character, showing him as this huge figure of and importance, and then when we finally just never says a single word, just people bowing to him, and then when we get to see his fate, um, we see uh, you see when we finally see him with the armor taken off, we see that he's a lot smaller of a man, um, and not even in like great shape or anything like compared to any of the people that fought in the war or the Battle of Troy or anything like that, and then it just immediately dies, something like that. I think both a tragic hero and kind of um, a good telling of a lot of quote unquote powerful individuals throughout history is we see them as these great imposing and important and leaders and stuff, but then take we actually look at them for what they are, and they're bums. you know is what it is. But yeah, I mean, he has a scene uh, during the Battle of Troy, or right before the actual Battle of Troy starts. Odysseus, his crew, and I forgot John Bernthal's character's name. I know it starts with an M. Did he get some? It's not Menelaus, is it? I'm gonna have to look this up. Give me 2 seconds. Um, I know I should I should know this. Menelaus. Menelaus. He's there as well. Uh, just open the gate, and it's so tense as like that entire scene is so tense, just trying to get it also, all the soldiers of Troy coming to get them. They finally open the gate, and there's just Agamemnon just standing there, like the first figure you see. That got just chills. I almost stood out of my seat. Like um, that was that was such a crazy scene. That was I mm, That's not my favorite scene in the movie. We'll get to that in a little bit, but that was incredible. John Berthol, by the way, he did do a really good job. I don't think he was. I'm not gonna say I don't think he was like I don't think he brought down the movie in the slightest. I think his character was um, definitely more mm, kind of similar to roles he's played before. Um, you know. But I don't think he did. I think he did a good job as well. I don't think he got outclassed at any point, or that he was really bringing the movie down at all. He was cool, bald, but he was cool. But what else? I'm trying not to get to the third act yet because that was um I the third act is crazy. That's like 20-30 minutes is probably some of the best cinematography Nolan's done in his career. Um, mm, yeah, I think it's definitely up there. Um, I was like watching that in IMAX. Oh my goodness, what a! Uh, I'm I'm mad I don't have well, I'm mad that the closest 70 millimeter IMAX is in New York for me. So yeah, I'm not as much as I love the movies. I'm not doing that right now. You know, if I could have seen Mr. Movies, Tom Cruise himself, actually, that's a joke. I would love to talk with Tom Cruise about movies one day. That would be a bucket list item. But that's not important. We're not here to talk about Tom Cruise. Um, but no, I guess we can get to the third act. I'm trying, like, on one hand, I'm trying not to have this be too long at the same time, and I'm also recording this like before I go to work. So gotta hurry up a little bit. Um, Third act. What can I say? Odysseus, Matt Damon. There Christopher Nolan, there's not enough honey in the world. There really isn't. I've seen master classes put on before. Um, it just I'm speechless, genuinely, because there's there's just a moment of that you look at Odysseus and you can fully see, mm, like you're like you know he doesn't really say anything, but it's just how the scene like looks and feels. Like you can tell, oh yeah, like this is a movie right here. Um, and yeah, like this is why movies were made. So like it was you knew it was going down, and funny and as would have guessed, it went down. Because not specifically, it was after he rescued his son, but like before, like when he gets to the banquet and everything, and talks to Robert Pattinson's character, calling himself Sinon, gives him the raffle, and Robert Pattinson's character like goes crazy on him, and then it's just I think that it's really building up. Also, I should point this out, and this will be kind of a narrative. There's a narrative payoff for this, but throughout the movie, whenever you see Odysseus with a bow, he kind of strings it like a lyre or harp or whatever to ever just alert his prey. Um, that was uh, it pays off to a ridiculous amount, but we'll get there in a second. Anyways, at a certain point, Odysseus, he's disguised, talking as a beggar to his wife, and um, I think that is, and it goes over just how what Odysseus has learned, and like basically how he's kind of the same point as Oppenheimer of basically just like yeah we destroyed the world pretty much we destroyed civilization as we know it, um, and it's kind of going over the Battle of Troy and everything. And at a certain point, he's talking to Zendaya, Athena, or whatever. Um, uh, it's just looking at the Battle of Troy, seeing everything collapse around him. It's such a powerful scene. Um, like it I really can't understate this because like Nolan was, I mean, it to the same point like I said with Oppenheimer. Like as he's and the specific scene is when Oppenheimer is, I think they're in like the classroom or something. Everyone's like clapping around him, but all he sees like it's just white light or whatever, and just thundering noise. It's same exact scene. It's weird, I know, but like it's so powerful. And I hate using that word because it makes me feel like a snob, but you know what I mean. But it's and even like because they talk about how throughout the movie there's these men from the sea or whatever just causing havoc and everything else, and the reveal that Odysseus and his crew were the men at sea, which you would kind of guess actually um, after a certain point, but uh, it just but I think it's Odysseus kind of accepting that kind of drives that makes it such a driving scene. It's like, yeah, we like I said, the whole we ourselves destroyed civilization, or even personally as Odysseus, he destroyed civilization. The whole gifting of the Trojan horse was, completely shattering Zeus's law, which is another thing they talk about a lot. How something as, you know, innocent and peaceful giving a gift is, and how they turn that into a completely devastating and um, and devastating scene, and just a literal massacre. Um, yeah, a literal massacre, just completely spitting in the faces of the gods of Olympus, and their punishment for that was like the movie says, the death of the bronze or copper age. I think it is the Bronze Age. But and it and it's just great. It's great. Unfortunately, I'm not that articulate with words, so I can't fully put into emotion like how how or what it means to me fully. But that was a great scene. And then we get to like the final part, or really the last part, and there's just there's just something about like kind of integrating like the music with like actual like character actions, because what I was talking about earlier, when Odysseus uh, whenever he has a bow, he kind of flicks it, makes like a note, like playing a harp or a lyre. And during final ish scene, final act, let's just say that, he's they're having all the suitors trying to string the bow. Everyone fails. He tries, and there's a it in the background. There's a lyre, like the music. It's a lyre. It's going off. Uh, it's going off, and then he strings the bow. You see Robert Patterson's eyes, just the terror fill, and then he strings the bow like along with the music. There's thunder, lightning and thunder in the background, like, oh, like Zeus he's in this, he's in there, for real, for real. And when the second he strings that bow, literally, because beforehand everyone was, making fun of a beggar. Everyone just goes silent, and like that. That's and then obviously you can, if you don't know what happens at that point, like I said, go watch the movie. But I think, oh, what a scene! And then I think I've always kind of given Nolan a hard time because he's not really good at directing action scenes. I know what you think, but he made The Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. Go back and watch those goddamn movies. Um, he, I think the Odyssey was where he stood out for action, like actual action fight scene choreography. Wow, I can't speak English anymore. Like just not, I'm not gonna say like, oh, like it was a generational fight scene or anything. I mean, the scene itself was generational, cool as shit. But like, I'm not gonna say like, yeah, this is peak action film or some shit like that. But no, I do think definitely shows that Nolan is getting better at that. Because um, yeah, you like I said, just watch The Dark Knight Rises or something, and you'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense of why I said that. But no, it was just a great scene of and for Odysseus, and a very satisfying uh, climax to see, everyone that uh, everyone that tried to take or that took advantage of his estate, get their comeuppance. So that was great. But like I said, overall movie, I will talk more in depth about this with my friend when he finally sees the movie, which I'm uploading this Saturday. Um, so we'll talk about it after he sees the movie. But there's some stuff I'm not going over because I mean, like I said, it is a very much one to one with the actual just story of the Odyssey. So like I said, there was nothing in that movie that like surprised me. Really, besides, I mean, 'cause, you read the story, you know how everything's going to play out. Like, it's just how it goes about it. Like I said, some things were changed about from the story, but I didn't mind. I would love. I should say I'm probably not going to watch the movie again because I have to drive because I don't think I can watch that movie outside of IMAX. But the closest IMAX theater is an hour away. Um, so I'm not. No, no, we're not doing that. I'm not going to be spending because that was a long fucking drive because I think I left my house at like 2 p.m. and I didn't get back home till almost 8. Like, and at work, I was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. But no, but fantastic movie. I hmm, I would have to think about it more because I don't, because like, is it movie of the year? Mm, Probably, probably. Um, I think I don't know. I'd say it's like maybe a little bit better than um, Project Hail Mary. I mean, it's different movies. Narrative, I think narrative wise, I do think it is the best movie this year. Um, I think it's going to be hard to beat that, uh, in my opinion. I still think just my personal favorite movie is still going to be The Furious this year, and you know, um, and I do still really like The Sheep Detectives. That movie it'll always have a place in my heart. Uh, but no, no, it's I mean like fantastic movie, just a straight 10 out of 10. Um, you know, I think I think Nolan deserves rest. I mean, press does the press tour and everything else, but I think it's okay if he takes if he doesn't make another movie for uh 4 years. I think that's okay. Um, not that I want him to stop making movies, but like I think the scale of doing Oppenheimer or Oppenheimer, depending on who you are, and then going into the Odyssey, like I think, uh, especially just you know, um, this fucker just I don't know like this motherfucker just always gets a stacked cast. Like I don't know what it is. I mean, I do know what it is. It's Christopher Nolan. There's not many people that are gonna say no um, to him. So he's whatever his next project is. I'll be there. Whether it comes out in 2029, 3 years from now, or it comes out in 2030, I'll be there. Glory to Mr. Nolan. But anyways, that'll be it for this review. Uh, a lot of ramblings on my part, but I hope I got the point across anyways and was able to convey how it felt. But anyways, uh, uh, Thank you for watching, and next review will be Spider-Man. Later.